Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our afternoon edition of Big Brother 22 All-Stars live feed spoilers. Happy show day. The thing that we should point out at the start is that, Jess and I, we will be back later today to give you more from the live feeds, and I'm sure we'll probably talk a little bit about the episode as well. It's supposed to air, at least according to CBS's schedule, at like 10 o'clock, but just keep track of what's going on. I have no idea what's going to happen with golf or anything else airing around it.
Yeah, just keep your ear to the grindstone, guys.
This happens a couple of times here and there, and I don't know, maybe it will happen if the NFL actually has a season as well. Sundays are weird and wonky, but we are here right now to talk about some other developments because the veto ceremony, it is approaching, and while I don't think everyone is in like go 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 campaign mode yet, there are the early stages of discussions.
Yeah, so that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about here in this update. As far as sort of like crazy drama, not a lot of that is happening right now, but we wanted to come on and give you guys an update.
All right, well, before we get into this strategy update, while people in the house are currently working out and or playing dominoes, which just reminds me of my grandmother, if you do like this video, give us a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you want to support us more, check those links in the description to the store and also our Patreon, where you can check out all the different tiers and benefits we are offering there.
I love your grandma.
Yeah, what she would do is she was an old West Texas lady, and she would like have all of her other like buddies over to her house, and like every like weekend they'd play dominoes for like 4 hours. So I'm in there seeing like Nicole F playing dominoes, and it like brings me back. It's like the only time I've ever associated Nicole Franzel with like nostalgia.
Your grandma's she was such a nice lady. I love her.
Oh, she was great.
Okay, so first we're going to get into a conversation that Kaysar and Keesha were having, just a little bit about how she's afraid of kind of doing and saying too much right now. And I kind of get where she's coming from, because if you play too aggressively, you can kind of trip yourself up, but if you don't do enough, then you go home. So it's kind of a tough position that she's in. She doesn't, and it's still so early that she doesn't really know kind of how much gas is she giving on this. Is it enough? Is it too much? Like, what's going on? But the one thing Keesha does think is that she has Memphis's vote, which is really interesting, because we've been kind of talking about this, that Memphis doesn't seem to really, he's not like, oh yeah, she's got to stay, or oh yeah, she's got to go. Like, he's kind of playing it a little laid back of, let's see where things land, let's play it out day by day.
I think at this point, it's kind of fair to say that out of the like 4 really old school players of Kaysar, Janelle, Keesha, and Memphis is by far playing the best game, because he has options, and I think if he has an opportunity to keep Keesha in the game, why wouldn't you keep an extra person that, foreseeably you could work with? But I don't think Memphis is going to be willing to tank his entire game in order to protect Keesha and keep Keesha around. And like you, I get where Keisha's kind of debate is going from right now, because this is my concern with Kevin, is that he has done a lot of talking already and a lot of campaigning already, just making it clear to people that he will support them and everything else, which that can be good.
Yeah.
But if it's the day before the veto ceremony, and I was like coming to you, and I was just like, okay, so let's make this deal. If I win HOH, I'll keep you. Would you feel like, okay, this person's playing really, really hard, I should be worried about this? Wouldn't that enter your head?
Yeah, I'd be a little bit worried about it. I mean, it also would depend on where I was personally in the game. If I needed that sort of assurance from him, then maybe I would be a little more interested in entertaining that, but it just depends what my own position in the game would be. If I'm desperate, then I'm like, all right, yeah, I gotta listen to Kevin. But if I'm not, then I would be thinking a little more like, this guy is acting desperate.
It's like, I don't think Keisha's mistake here, if we're having like our post-mortem on Keesha after she probably gets evicted this coming week, I don't think her issue is going to be that she didn't campaign enough now. I think her issue is going to be she didn't do enough to get to know people before she was ever really on the block in the first place, that she was too isolated.
Yeah, she really dropped the ball on that. And I get wanting to just kind of hang back a little bit, but you really, these first few days do really kind of cement a lot of stuff in the house. You don't have to play as hard as Kaysar, but you need to play.
Yeah, especially in All-Stars, and especially if you don't know a lot of people going in, and you have to imagine that all these, like, season 19 and 20, and all these, like, reasonably modern people probably have met each other at about 50 different charity events, so they already kind of have a rapport that you don't have with them.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be gameplay. Just spending some time getting to know them, asking questions about their life. I mean, those are connections that can then just naturally fold into an alliance.
Yeah, those conversations, they're fun to watch. I just watched a conversation earlier today of Kaysar and Janelle just kind of really talking about nonsense and talking about Janelle trying to just hide in bed as long as possible so she didn't have to put her costume on, which is really kind of brilliant if you just don't want to wear it. Just, if you never leave your bed, you never have to wear it.
At least she doesn't have to wear it to sleep.
There you go. So Keesha also in this conversation with Kaysar, like, it came out that in the diary room, she's apparently figured out that she was actually pretty close to winning the veto. And, we don't really know at this point, because we haven't seen the veto, how much of an awareness everyone has about every single aspect of individual performance on all of this. But it's always a good thing to wonder about, where if being close to winning a veto, like, is that something that people actually are afraid of? I mean, I guess I would be more worried about someone who was decent as opposed to someone who just, like, came out and was awful and was just kind of a laughingstock.
Well, I think because it's All-Stars, you kind of have to look at past performances if you've seen other seasons. Like Enzo winning this veto, I think he's like won one other veto in his entire time. So am I going to be really worried if it was Enzo that came close to winning? Maybe not. He doesn't have a great track record. But if it's someone like, I don't know, a Janelle who's won tons of stuff, and then she also was coming close to stuff, then I'd put a little more stock in that.
It's really gonna be all about what's your overall picture. I don't think, Keisha's one competition in Big Brother 22, plus how she did in that first weird thing on the premiere night, I don't think that's gonna be held against her too much, but I'm sure if Keesha is evicted, she's probably going to replay every single second of that veto in her head for the next, 2 months.
And so one of the things that Kaysar's been trying to kind of push with Keesha is that she really needs to go and reassure Cody on sort of, hey, I'm not coming after you, whatever, I can work with you, whatever it is. And I'm surprised that anybody needs to tell her to do this. She should know that this is what she needs to do. Cody's the HOH. He holds the power. People are going to be coming to him to find out, which way do you want this to go? It does happen. So it's interesting that Kaysar's had to kind of give that gentle push to be like, hey, man, go reassure Cody. Go talk to him. And why she hasn't had that conversation yet.
The more that I sort of think about it, the more, it might be somewhat of a split vote, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is a pretty close consensus vote, because if Cody does end up wanting Keesha out, I think a lot of that group ends up going in that direction. We know Dave Vaughn is getting pretty close to Kevin. Nicole Anthony is getting fairly close to Kevin. I mean, Kevin even gave Nicole Anthony basically permission to hear Keesha out on whatever she says, and if she needs to tell her anything, just go ahead and do it. It's just sort of like Janelle and Kaysar may be sort of on Keesha Island, and if they are on Keesha Island, and that's pretty bad news for them moving forward.
So Kaysar also warned Keesha that David tells Cody and Tyler everything, and it sort of goes back to a little bit that narrative that we talked about this morning, that for whatever reason, Kaysar has it out for David. He is just not having it, and a lot of it does feel like that Kaysar feels that David's kind of, lying a bit, which he is, about, sort of like, oh man, shucks, I don't know how to play the game. I don't know what's going on. And Kaysar's really perceptive, and so is David. So he's able to pick out that David is not exactly playing who he is. And that is a dangerous person to have in the house.
I still believe that Kaysar. I think Kaysar's memory palace, right? He's got like he's really got David like at the front door. He's like front and center with all of it. It's like you don't need to be this concerned about David at this point in the game, Kaysar. I understand. You feel like maybe you want to get in with Cody, with Tyler, with these. Just try to win HOH first. Like, let's just take this one step at a time.
Yeah.
Let's not go too crazy about it. But we'll shift over to Memphis and Cody, where they had a conversation earlier this morning, and this is mostly starting off as a reminder that Memphis, he's not so interested in just going down the old schoolers route, because in Memphis's own words, it's too obvious. Like, he actually kind of sounds diabolical when he's saying this, like he's sort of just like planning some sort of heist, and he's like, I don't think we should go in through the front door. Let's wear these costumes. Let's get the uniforms of like all the bank employees. And, you know, we could go down our full list of all the characters in a bank heist, but that's a very different video. But it feels like Memphis is very almost maniacal in sort of how he's perceiving things.
Yeah, and I mean, he's right in that to try to, I guess, distance himself a little bit from that idea, because the old schoolers will still want to keep him around, while then the new schoolers will see Memphis as someone who can be an ally for them too. He's putting himself in a really sweet spot.
He's done a great job. Like, I really think that Memphis, nobody's going to come for Memphis in the next few weeks unless Memphis just like royally screws up his game. At the same time, I don't really think Memphis is doing a lot to like build a winning resume right now, but I don't think you need to build a winning resume in Big Brother Week 1. You just need to not be evicted.
Yeah, and I mean, there is a potential of this Memphis-Cody alliance and sort of the ideas like the two of them and then Danny and Tyler, Christmas and Bailey, and of course that he would want it to be as secret as it can be. But I mean, Cody's already kind of in that same sort of alliance with Tyler right now, too. I mean, Cody's not going to say no to an alliance at this point, but I don't know how serious he's going to think about it.
Yeah,
because it's so early.
It is really early, and it feels like everyone's just kind of itching to have like a big named alliance, and they're sort of throwing names at a wall, and it felt like this was Memphis and Cody just basically being like, well, what about this person and this person? It was just like, let's compile a group of people that we're kind of working with, and then we'll act like it's secret, and then we can sort of go off into different corners. It felt like a very less successful version of the Brigade, where they all had kind of their side alliances.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea in theory, but like, let's say that this actually ended up being something where Memphis, Cody, Danny, Tyler, Christmas, Bailey.
This is a big alliance.
Yeah. Like, let's say that 6-person thing happens. Wouldn't Bailey just go and tell Dave Vaughn about most of the stuff that's going on in there?
Yeah, I think she would, and because I think that alliance is very real, and I mean, that could work for the two of them if they're able to sort of get information from this bigger group and then find ways to dwindle that group down, but not through them.
And then, I guess also then, wouldn't Cody then go and tell Nicole, like, if Nicole F finds out there's a big alliance and she's not a part of it.
Yeah, she's going to lose her mind.
Yeah, I think we're going to hear a lot of, I'm unhappy, this is scary, and like all of Nicole F's other favorite lines, and then that's going to be the downfall of all of this.
Okay, so there's a couple other sort of just little odds and ends here, and one of them is that David is saying that he wants to fight for the next HOH, and honestly I think he kind of needs to, because this whole sort of playing dumb, oh geez, I don't know what's going on, I mean, It's just not believable, and obviously there are people in the house that know it's not real, so just get rid of that. Just come in and who you are and win that HOH, and he really needs to win something really early on, because this is first HOH does kind of dictate the game and sort of who's aligned with who. He needs to get an early HOH to finally like solidify some of the stuff that's going on.
And here's the thing about David. I like David. I find him engaging. I think he's an interesting person. He and Ian had an interesting conversation earlier where David was telling him about his travels, and all that is fun to watch. But the thing is with David, I don't think All-Stars are going to vote for him to win this game if his strategy he proposes to them was, well, guess what? I was playing dumb the whole time. I don't think that that's going to be a gameplay that they respect long term. He needs to win competitions. He needs to actually make it kind of clear to his allies, this is where I stand, this is what I'm doing. I don't think they're going to get rid of him because he's competent at the game. Like, that's the misfire, I think, in David's idea, because everybody in this house is at least pretty good at the game.
And we've seen people try to play this, I'm dumb, I don't really know what's going on, and they can't win with that. Even if it wasn't an all-star season, you can't win with that by the time you get to the end. It just doesn't work.
And okay, let's have a reprisal now of Name Gate, where we joked earlier about this, how Memphis keeps calling Tyler Taylor.
Yep.
And that's just funny to me because he's not saying it to Tyler's face, and he has been warned against this. But now, and I know this has even been brought up in the comments, but Cody has been referring to David as Kevin, but he's done it now on more than one occasion, including today, and this may not be anything, but once again, let's kind of talk this through. If we were having conversations in the house, and I on more than one occasion kept calling you by the wrong name, and it's not even really close to his actual name, wouldn't you be pretty irritated after a while?
Not only would I be irritated, but I'd be done with them, because if you can't even learn my name, which is the most basic thing you're gonna learn about me, if you can't care enough to know what my name is, then I don't care enough to work with you. Like, it's too many times. I get at the beginning, yeah, there's lots of people in the house, you may not know everybody, yeah, you're gonna correct them once or twice, cool, but if you keep doing it after once or twice, then you don't care about me enough to do anything with me. You don't even want to learn what my name is. So if I was David, I'd be done.
This is the other funny thing about it. It's not like these are all people Cody doesn't know. Like, I'm sure he's at least met, like, half of them, or he's heard of, like, maybe 75% of them. It's really like, Cody, for your next challenge, can you remember 4 names of people who you're not familiar with in the Big Brother 22 house?
So the other thing that's going on with Cody is he's warned Tyler that there are people that are speculating about their bro alliance, which is like, duh, of course they are. Everyone knew before that you guys were going to get together. We knew it before you guys knew it. As soon as we saw them, I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a thing. And of course, immediately, it's a thing. It always happens. There's always a bro alliance. You guys made this choice to do this. So yeah, of course everybody's suspecting it because it happens every season.
This is the only thing I think I need to say on this. The only reason people aren't worried more about this, other than Kaysar, who's really more oddly concerned about David than any other part of it, is because Cody is in power. The moment Cody stops being in power, or some of these other bros are not in power, then we'll have some actual sort of conversations that go on here. I just hope that we see someone else in power soon, so it doesn't end up being everyone ends up sort of huddling around Cody and Tyler and all these other tentacles of them, because right now I'm a little bit worried about that, because a lot of people are starting to get connected to somebody who's connected to this group, and then we could end up seeing a situation where Kevin or Nicole Anthony or Kaysar and Janelle all get kind of picked off.
Yeah, and that's why I know a lot of people don't want to win that first HOH, but I actually think that that first HOH is extremely important to win, because it does usually, whoever wins that first HOH ends up getting the biggest group of people around them as an alliance, and then you're able to sort of get one of them to win and just pick everybody off. It happens all the time.
Unless you don't suck. It is, I think I agree with you for the most of the part here, but I do think occasionally people suck. Cody, however, does not suck. Cody is a decent player, and yeah, I think it does.
And he has people around him who also don't suck. Yeah. So I think my prediction is our next HOH, we all want to see a Janelle win or something like that, and I just am a little bit worried that's going to be part of Cody's crew.
Just wait till Tyler asks everyone if they want to see his HOH room. Just brace yourselves now. But, all right, we'll wrap this video up. But what do you think Keesha's campaign should be? What do you think about Memphis Cody's odd, let's pick 6 people and throw them into an alliance, let us know in the comments. And if you do like this video, give us a like, subscribe, and you can support us further by checking the link in the description to the store, to our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.